She vanished after a night of laughter. Her phone kept responding, but it wasn't her, it was her killer. For 8 days, he pretended she was alive while hiding her body just upstairs. This is the haunting story of Lorraine Cox and how a predator turned charm into horror. Welcome to Crime Cipher, where we explore the darkest corners of real-life crime, stories that haunt, disturb, and demand answers. Subscribe for weekly psychological breakdowns, victim-centered storytelling, and interrogations that reveal the truth hidden behind lies. Because in this cipher of crime, no truth should stay hidden. Now let's uncover what really happened to Lorraine Cox, how a vibrant life ended in silence, and how the man who claimed to be innocent left a trail of horror no one saw coming. Devon and a love that grew across borders. Lorraine Cox adored her homeland, Devon County, a place known for its coastal beauty and peaceful charm. She grew up in the city of Exeter, surrounded by a loving family and tight-knit friends. But Lorraine's heart had found something even more powerful: love. After a traumatic incident in her past, she found herself unable to trust men. But she eventually met someone who changed everything. Lorraine's journey toward healing is a story many survivors know too well. After enduring trauma, she rebuilt her life with careful hope. She wasn't just in love, she was reclaiming her power. Her move to Scotland was more than relocation, it was transformation. Her name was Eliza Fellows, a woman from Scotland. What started as a long-distance relationship soon turned into a serious commitment. They planned a wedding, talked about children, and shared dreams of a life together. Lorraine even moved to Scotland during the COVID lockdown to be with Eliza. But when restrictions eased in late 2020, she decided to return to Exeter for a few weeks, to reconnect with family, old friends, and the familiar comfort of home. The last goodbye. On September 1st, 2020, Lorraine was in high spirits. She was heading out to meet friends for the first time in months. Laughter, drinks, warm embraces. It was the kind of night people had missed during months of isolation. Lorraine shared stories about her life with Eliza, their plans, and her hope to become a parent one day. When the night ended, she hugged everyone goodbye and walked off into the quiet city streets. No one could have guessed that would be the last time they'd ever see her. The social media posts that didn't add up. The next day, Lorraine's social media account lit up with a strange post. She announced she was moving to Plymouth. A sudden change no one saw coming. Friends were baffled. Just hours earlier, she'd been making plans to return to Scotland. The language of the post felt wrong. Something was off. Then came the messages. Lorraine was replying to texts, but the tone was cold, dismissive, even angry. Eliza was heartbroken and confused. Her partner of 2 years was suddenly distant, and her responses didn't feel like Lorraine at all. Some messages were outright hostile, including one with a middle finger emoji, a gesture so unlike the woman Eliza had loved that it triggered even deeper fear. Something felt deeply wrong. Lorraine's father, Tony, grew worried quickly. His daughter hadn't been home since the night out. Her diabetes kit was left open on the table, a critical piece of equipment no diabetic would ever leave behind. He hadn't seen her for 2 days. The silence, the absence, the odd social media posts, it all pointed to something being horribly wrong. He went straight to the police and reported Lorraine missing. At first, many assumed she had simply run away, or was perhaps staying with someone. But Tony knew. He felt it in his bones. His daughter was in danger. A past trauma and a new fear. As police dug into Lorraine's history, they found a chilling detail. In 2018, she had been assaulted by a man named Robert Prout, an offender already convicted in a separate case. He was due in court soon, and Lorraine was expected to testify. The timing of her disappearance just before the hearing set off alarm bells. Was it possible Prout had tried to silence her? Or had Lorraine gone into hiding, afraid of retribution? The theories were wild, but none brought investigators closer to her. A face on CCTV and a building with secrets. Police combed through over 11,000 hours of surveillance footage from 400 cameras around Exeter. Then they found it. Lorraine sitting on a bench near Bodrum Kebab, eating late-night takeout. A man approached her, and they spoke briefly. Minutes later, the two walked together back toward the building that housed the kebab shop. She entered through the back. He followed. And Lorraine Cox was never seen alive again. That final frame, the door shutting behind them, became the silent timestamp of her fate. Investigators say this was when Lorraine crossed an invisible line between normalcy and nightmare. The man? Unknown, but staff at the kebab shop said he lived in an apartment above the restaurant. His name, he claimed, was Christopher Mayer. The man behind the mask. When police arrived at the apartment, they expected chaos, but the unit was spotless, quiet, normal. Mayer denied knowing Lorraine. He said he wouldn't invite a woman in because he was gay. But when detectives examined his phone, they found Lorraine's SIM card inside. Her messages, the ones that had alarmed friends, had likely come from his device. Mayer was arrested, but his real name wasn't Christopher Mayer. It was Azam Mangori, an illegal immigrant from Iraq who had been denied asylum but never deported. The horror they found. Inside the apartment, investigators uncovered chilling evidence. Lorraine's ID cut into pieces, her phone SIM flushed into the sewer, and tools, knives, and a saw stashed in plastic. In a nearby alley inside a garbage bin, they found her body parts. Mangori had tried to clean up, but traces of blood remained. Then surveillance footage showed him buying trash bags, tape, and a large duffel bag. A taxi took him to Tin Pit Hill, where Lorraine's head and torso were found under a pile of logs. He had mutilated her body and possibly kept a piece of skin as a trophy. Some parts of her were never recovered. The trial and the lies. During his trial in 2021, Mangori finally spoke. He claimed he and Lorraine flirted, had a brief relationship, and that she overdosed in his apartment. He described hallucinations, seeing creatures crawl from her mouth, then said he panicked and shoved a shirt into her mouth to stop them. But this story didn't match the evidence, the timeline, or the person Lorraine was. The video he filmed afterward, calmly describing what happened, revealed no panic, no fear, only cold detachment. The jury didn't believe his story. He was sentenced to life in prison. Lorraine Cox should be alive today. She should be married, raising a child, visiting her family in Devon, and celebrating birthdays with her partner Eliza. Instead, she became the victim of a man who should never have been in her life. A man who wore a false name, lived in the shadows, and chose to end her story in the most brutal way imaginable. At Crime Cipher, we tell these stories not just to inform, but to remember. Lorraine was more than a headline. She was a daughter, a lover, a friend, a future stolen. If her story moved you, subscribe, share, and support our channel. Because every victim deserves to be remembered, and every truth, no matter how dark, deserves to be told.